Well, thank you, Sarah, for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
That's my pleasure. I really appreciate it, especially as we were meant to have planned this a little while ago, but I know holidays and life sort of got in the way.
Life got in the way. We've been speaking about it for quite a while, but I'm glad we're finally getting to do it.
Yeah, me too. So for those who don't know you, is it all right just to give a little bit of a who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I am a holistic massage therapist. I've got my own business in Northampton. I've been doing it for around my own little business for about 4 years, but I've been in the massage industry for about 10. And yeah, my business is just all about helping those find time for themselves, stepping away from that busy life and making time for them and doing something for them.
So how did you, with 10 years ago, so how did you get into the job? Like what sort of gave you the inspiration to sort of go down that route?
So I trained as a massage therapist about 10 years ago, and I worked in a salon for quite a long time. Was always very popular with my massage, and that was kind of where a lot of my clients were booking in. But it was very unsociable hours, not very good pay. So I stepped away from it for quite a while, and I actually went into like corporate office roles. And then through my own journey and just knowing that those sort of jobs were just not my calling, I knew that it wasn't my purpose. That's when I decided to go back into the massage, set up my own little business, but more of a holistic route. I think from just going on my own journey and understanding like the mind and body connection and what holistic means, I knew that that was my calling. So yeah, business has been open for about 4 years now.
I love that.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, cause you said it's holistic. So what does holistic mean?
So holistic means like as a whole. So, you know, looking at massage or, you know, holistic massage or holistic health, you're looking at it as a whole. You're not just looking at it as a physical. You're not just looking at it as a mental or emotional. You're looking at it as all of them together. So with holistic massage, yes, massage is a physical element and we're touching the body. However, it is all about the mind, body, soul connection and having that understanding of what I'm feeling physically could be down to my mental well-being. It could be down to trauma. It could be down to stress. So it's focusing more of the mind body as a whole.
Yeah. So I've got it on here as well, the mind body connection, which we'll talk about. Mm-hmm. So I've seen as well what you mentioned on your page. It's I want to talk about the benefits behind massages, because I know they are more than just physical. Like for someone who just has like an ache or something like that, or a pain, people may think, okay, I'm just gonna get a massage that will heal it, but that doesn't always seem to be the case. It seems like you say, there could be some deep rooted trauma or something behind that.
Yeah, I think injuries, they can be just physical. You know, a lot of sports injuries like that can just be a physical thing. Like, however, a lot of people do suffer with, let's say, back pain, neck, shoulders, like that constant aches and pains in their body. Now, when we look at that can tend to be something a little bit more deep rooted. A lot of the time it's stress, unfortunately. Like stress is just such a big thing, in the UK within people. So yeah, what we're feeling physically definitely has a lot of the time a bigger meaning of what's going on internally and with our mind and with our emotions. We store a lot of our emotions within our body as well. So it's just understanding, okay, I have this pain in my body. What could that be? And just listening to your body. I think we have such a disconnection with our body, but our body is always talking to us. And it's just leaning into that and understanding that a bit more.
I was going to say, do you think with the mind-body connection, do you think like as a society, especially in like the UK, do you think we've forgotten about the mind-body connection? And it's sort of just the mind's one thing, the body's another. If you like, they just don't talk. I think a lot of people don't seem to realise that they actually do talk.
Yeah, I do think here in the UK, we have we've become so disconnected from ourselves because we live in this world of, we go to work and we live for the weekends. You know, we're stressed at work. We're probably not doing a job that we actually want to do. We're in this rat race kind of lifestyle that I do think we have become really disconnected from ourselves and not realising how it's all connected.
I feel it's more like, especially the Western side, like Western modern science is sort of pulled us away from that, especially being like in the UK, because you see places like India or even South America and certain parts there that are really still connected like with the mind and body. They understand the connection there. And they know that stress is just more than just a mental thing. Like even with headaches or something like that, they'd come from the stress you're feeling, or they can come from like your body, like a lack of like sleep as well, anything like that. Like I remember seeing as well, I've spoken about before, like with getting it's like the sciencey part, but I don't really like it, but like with serotonin, like 95% of that's produced in your gut. So if you've got a really crappy diet or something like that, people will send, it will like affect them. They won't produce as much serotonin, and then start getting like feeling like really negative or like depressed, and they won't realize. They'll think, oh, it's just the thoughts I'm having. It's like, I'm just not feeling like, I'm just, got these bad thoughts, and they're not realizing, no, it's your diet. Like, I think I remember seeing someone talk about it as well. I think if you look at most of the suicides that people who take suicides, if you look at their diets, most of them are really bad, like really bad diets, and people just don't see the connection between that. It sort of just gets lost that we do actually have a mind-body connection. Yeah. And I think I've got it on here, like how you can't fix the mind with the same mind you're thinking in. Like people say, I'm stressed. It's like, okay, don't be stressed. Oh, problem solved. Like, no, it's not how it works.
No.
Like a lot of physical, like if you're stressed, people will go like for exercise or go for a run or go for a walk, and they don't, and instantly they feel better just from that.
Yeah, something so simple like a walk in nature for 30 minutes can just bring you back down and ground you. If you're feeling like you're getting stressed, if you feel like you're becoming anxious about something, just taking that time to do that, move your body and be in nature and ground yourself, I can guarantee you once you've done that, you will feel so much better afterwards.
So do you think with the massages, do you have many returning clients? Like, because I know sometimes, obviously with the like deeper the root cause of it, we have people that come back and they just still have the same aches and pains, and do you think they're not getting to the root cause outside of that, like the trauma they may have? They're not dealing with that. They just think this massage is going to fix me.
I think, yeah, some people may have that mindset of, I'm going to go for one massage and it's going to take away all of my aches and pains and I'm going to feel really good again. I think massage is just one element of how you can help yourself. I do have a lot of returning customers that come to me every single month. I have people that might come to me every few months or once a year, twice a year. But I think massage is really beneficial for those who, work a stressful job, don't really do much for themselves. It's about them taking that time out. And for me, a massage isn't going to fix you. You need to be doing other things that is going to help your lifestyle, and you need to want to do it as well. So I'm not there to fix anyone. I'm there to just guide and facilitate you and just hold that safe space for you, and for you to know that you can come into my space. It's confidential. Anything said here is, completely safe. And with the massage, massage is such a powerful tool, and it really has so many benefits. And I think, obviously I'm biased, but I think everybody should, at least try it, or, try and incorporate it into their lifestyle somehow. Even if you're just self-massaging yourself, that's really beneficial as well.
It's interesting as well. Like with the returning clients, I think, if you're just going about your day, like living the same day in and out, no changes or anything like that, and then you just like maybe see you twice a month or once a month, and just thinking that's going to heal you. It's like no internal work's being done on yourself. Like physically, yeah, sure, you're getting, maybe it's helping as well, depending on like you say, if there's a deeper meaning behind it or not. But if you're just carrying on having the same thoughts, the same mindset as you did the day before, you're not going to really be healing yourself in a way. Or listening to your body. And how important that is. Because I feel like a positive mind, like a happy mind, is going to equal a healthy body. Like you say, with mind-body connection, they both come hand in hand. And like especially like our emotions, they're not just mental, they're physical as well. I listen to a lot of, I don't know if you might do as well, Joe Dispenza. Yeah, so he talks a lot about that, especially with the stress and how I've seen someone whose partner passed away as well. And because they're constantly being reminded of this as well, like people always asking, how are you? How's it going? How has it been since your partner passed away? And because they're constantly being reminded of that and being stuck in the same cycle, they're producing the same emotions and the same thoughts. And eventually over time, that's caused them to have really bad illnesses. But then once they started getting out of that, started listening to their body as well, the sensations they were feeling, and they started getting in the present moment and taking more control of their mind and being more conscious and letting the subconscious control them. They started to heal. They started to heal both physically and mentally as well. I want to say, because obviously listening to your body and your body sensations, and I think a problem with this, which we'll dive into probably a bit more detail, is when you're feeling like a headache or when your body's aching or something like that, people would just rather take a pill. And they just take that, the pain goes away for a few hours, it covers the symptoms, but it doesn't actually get to the root cause of the problem. And so I wanted to ask, from your personal opinion, how can people begin to start listening to their body? Like, how have you, like with you, for example, how would you like tell someone, if someone said, I need to start listening to my body more, what should I do? What sort of advice would you give them? I know there's probably maybe not a right way for all this because everyone's different. But from your own personal experience, what would you say?
I think everybody is different, and I think there are different tools out there for you to be able to try and do this. I think being in the present moment really helped me. Things like anxiety, I used to get a lot of, and I think because with anxiety, it's the physical symptoms of anxiety are so overwhelming. Like we get the tummy sensations, we get the chest tightness, but that's our body telling us that something isn't quite right. And I think when we tap into that and just acknowledge, okay, this is happening, I'm anxious, and sit with it and just allow it to be in your body and allow it to pass, I think you can understand your body a little bit more. I think meditation is really good. Like I always find like doing a body scan meditation is really good. That's something that I try and do every morning, just kind of working from the top of my head down into my body and just really feeling like how each part of my body feels. Like, okay, how does my head feel? Like going into my neck and my shoulders, like how does that feel? Like what sensations can I feel? Like what emotions are coming up when I get onto each area of my body? And just something simple like that, 5 minutes every morning, can just help you start to build that relationship with your own body and just starting to feel your body. Because like I said, our body is constantly talking to us all the time. Like a headache, that could mean lack of sleep, dehydration, or we're a little bit stressed. So it's just understanding why that has come about and why we're feeling like that. And something like the meditation or movement, just any like intuitive movement, can really help you tap into listening to your body and feeling those sensations and maybe where things are sitting.
I know for me, meditation has been a big one. Just getting out of your own head in a way as well. Because I think a lot of people take their thoughts too literally. They'll just think every single thought that's happening in their head, they think this must be true. Or, okay, I'm having these thoughts, I must be a bad person.
Well, thoughts are pointless, aren't they? Most of them are completely pointless, and we only think them because of our monkey brain and like the power that it has over us. But most of our thoughts are completely pointless.
Yeah. And I think when you start having the same thoughts over and over again, because you get attached to them, and because your body doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's not, if you keep having these same thoughts and like living in these same thoughts, your body's going to start living in them as well.
Yeah.
And it's why I think a lot of people, like some people, like get addicted to like the bad thoughts as well. It sort of becomes part of their identity, I think, is from what I've learned from like Joe Dispenza. And because they start creating all these like bad scenarios, making themselves feel bad, and then the body starts feeling bad as well. It's like, this must be real. My brain's thinking it. It must be real. No matter if it's made up or not, my body's automatically thinking, this must be happening.
Our body is constantly listening to us. And I think the language and the way that we talk to ourselves has such a big impact on everything that happens in our life, and especially with our body. If you constantly tell yourself that you're stressed and you're never going to get out of this feeling, I'm always going to feel like this, I'm always going to be anxious, like your whole body is listening to that.
Yeah.
So therefore you probably are still going to be stressed and you're still going to be anxious. So as much as your body is always listening to you, it's about training. It's almost like you have to train your mind and start to talk back to those. I always talk back to my negative thoughts of like, if something comes in, no, that's not true. Like you have to, it's like, it is a constant work in progress because your mind is so powerful, but it is how powerful our mind is. Yeah,
and are you going to let it take control of you, or are you going to take control of your mind in the first place? I think I've got on here as well, because you can't, like I said before, you can't change your mind with the same mind that, like, you can't change like anything that bad that happened. You can't change it with the same mind that created the problems in the first place.
Yeah.
It's something like Joe Dispenza says, like, nothing changes until you change your energy,
Yeah.
until you raise that consciousness up to a greater level of consciousness. Because you can't, that's what he says. You can't solve your problems with the same mind that created them. And something I've talked about as well, like with affirmations that some people will say in the morning, like you can go to your mirror and say them in the morning, saying like, I'm great, I'm powerful, I'm strong. But if you just, after you said them, if you just carry on the day as you would before, all them other thoughts and negative thoughts in your head, you're not necessarily believing them affirmations you had in the morning. You're just saying them for the sake of saying them. So you sort of got to change your mindset, change the way you think, and like I said, take control, be the boss of your own mind.
Yeah.
And once you're the boss of your own mind, the body will sort of just follow along, I think, as well.
Yeah.
It's happen naturally.
Yeah. I think affirmation work is really good because it's, again, going back to our body listening and the language that we use, if we are saying those affirmations, our body is listening to it, and eventually it will just become normal that we are believing those things and we think that those things are us.
I was going to say the belief's a big part of it, I think.
Yeah, you have to believe it. It's like with anything. If you want to change your lifestyle, if you want to believe your affirmations, like you really do have to believe it. You really do have to want it to work. Like you said, you can't just say them to say them and think it's going to work. Like you have to really, truly feel it deep within you.
Yeah. So I know we talk about you do meditation and with groundwork. With self-care, what does your self-care routine look like? If you could just give us like a little example, like what are some like a few things you have to do daily that are like essential to you? Like this could be meditation. Like for me, it's like meditation as well, but journaling, grounding as well, getting outside, going for like a walk, these sort of things. What do you do in your day-to-day life? Like that's essential.
Well, I think self-care ultimately is putting yourself first. It's caring for yourself. And my self-care practice, although I wouldn't necessarily stick to it every day, meditation and journaling every morning and a walk every morning. Those are like the three things that I just feel like set me up for my day. And I just feel like just so calm. Being out in nature as much as I can, like walking I just find it really grounding being in nature. But there's so many levels to self-care. It's not just the things that we necessarily do, or, you know, like going for a massage. Yes, that's self-care, but there's so many other elements. You're saying yes to yourself. So it could be something simple as saying no to something that you don't want to do. You know, you get invited somewhere, but maybe that peer pressure is like pulling you to go because you don't want to let the people down, but deep inside of you, you really don't want to go. By you saying no to something, that is actually part of your self-care.
It's giving you a bit of power.
Yeah, and it's taking that power back. So I think with self-care, there are so many elements, and self-care for me is putting myself first, you know, doing these things that make me feel really good, but it's calling my power back to me and living the life how I want to live without worrying about what anybody else thinks of what my life looks like.
Yeah.
What I do for me is because it feels good for me. And to me, that is self-care, I think.
I'm really glad you said that, especially like the saying no part. 'Cause I think a lot of people think selfishness is always a negative thing.
Yeah.
But it's not. You are your number one priority. It's like if you go on a plane and it starts, it starts crashing, but hopefully it doesn't. But if it starts crashing and you obviously got the airbags come out, and if you got a kid, you've still got to put your one on first. Because at the end of the day, you are your number one priority.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to do what's best for you. And it may upset other people, but those who truly understand you will accept that and say, no, you're taking time for yourself. You've got to focus on you. I get that. There's no issues with that at all.
Yeah. So, I think with self-care, and like you said, like we're almost taught that we have to put others before we think of ourselves. And I think this is why so many people struggle with self-care. And I don't know why we're taught from such a young age of like, it's selfish to think of yourself. It's selfish to put yourself first. But like you said, we are our number one priority. If we're not feeling our best, how can we give to others? Like, yes, we love helping others and we love guiding others and being there for others. But if our cup is empty, how can we be of service to anybody else? Because we haven't looked after ourselves first. I always think when I'm feeling at my best, I know that I can be there for anybody in my life, and I know that it feels better that way, because I've serviced myself first. Yeah,
it's true. It's really true. You can't take care of someone else if you can't take care of yourself in the first place. It's like with love. How can you love someone else if you don't love yourself?
Yeah.
You need to put yourself first.
Yeah.
Take a step back sometimes, just say, no, I need to do what's best for me. And it doesn't mean you can't help other people in the future. And I think people sort of don't realise that by just saying no and taking time for you, you are in the long term, you can help them. Mm-hmm. You can help them. But if you don't help yourself, eventually, if you just keep doing what everyone else wants to do, just following the crowd, eventually it's going to take a toll on you.
Yeah.
Whether that's stress, just unhappiness, anxiety, or depression, eventually it will take a toll on you, and then you'll have no service to anyone, including yourself. Mm-hmm. And I think some people realise that too late when they get a bit older, and they start to realise, I should have taken care of myself a long time ago. I should have said no. Should have said, this is my time, me time. That's why a lot of people, alone time's some of the best times you can have, just being by yourself and just focusing on you, working on you, taking care of your mind and your body.
Yeah.
And if you keep and the problem with that as well, I think is just, a lot of people don't see it these days, like with society and the way we're brought up. Make sure you're taking care of them, make sure they're okay. It was like, but what about me? Am I okay? No.
And that's it. That's what you have to ask yourself is like, am I okay? Like, am I in the position to help others and to be of service of other people if I'm not feeling myself? And I do think that comes from just being conditioned from such a young age to put others before yourself. So when you're on this journey, you're just deprogramming all of that in your mind. It's like yesterday, I knew that I needed a day of rest. I knew that my body needed it. I had such a busy week, and Monday I don't work. So I did. I had a complete day at home and I just read and made nice food. But there was still something in the back of my mind that said, no, you need to be getting your to-do list done. Like, you need to be productive, and you need to be doing something. But I had to keep telling my ego, no, like I need this rest. Like, if I'm going to have a good week this week, and, you know, have all my clients come and see me and me be at my best, I know that I need a day of rest.
Yeah.
But there was still that little niggle there. And that's just from years of not putting myself first. So it's just deprogramming all of that in our minds.
It's funny how some people wait till the weekend to then say, okay, or just Sunday, and it's just like, okay, no, I can take time for me. But it's an everyday thing, everyday job.
It is. It's doing something for yourself every day. And it doesn't have to be a list of 20 things.
Yeah.
I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves of like having the perfect routine. But if we can just do something so small for ourselves, even if it's just sitting down with a cup of tea, no phone, but just sitting and just really being in the moment and enjoying that cup of tea, like, that's self-care. And that could take 5-10 minutes.
I wanted to ask as well, now thinking about it, when we ask ourselves, are we okay? Do you think people get scared of the answer of that, and then they distract themselves by focusing on other people? Because they're just, I don't want to work on myself. I'm not ready. I don't like what this could be. So let me just go see how they're doing, or let me just go out with them, and then I'll deal with this another time.
Yeah.
But then when that other time comes, they're like, I'm still not ready. I'm just going to push this away and just go out and focus on these people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of people are really scared to sit with their emotions and sit with how they really feel. And if they were to ask themselves, am I okay? I think a lot of people are worried about what that answer actually is. I was listening to a podcast the other day, actually, and it was by Rob Dial, and he was talking about sitting with your emotions. And there was a study done, and it was a group of people, and they were given two options: to either sit with their emotions for 10 minutes, or be not electrocuted, but they were they had like pads put on them that were going to like shoot them with something that was going to give them a little bit of pain.
Okay.
And I think it was like 70% of people chose the
the
pain rather than just sitting for 10 minutes with their emotions. And I think with women it was like 70%, but with men it was like 90% of men wanted to sit with the pain rather than sitting with their emotions.
Yeah, that don't surprise me with the men.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people, I think it's just really scary for someone to sit with their emotion and truly understand that, because I think it comes from such a deep rooted cause, whether that's trauma, and that's a scary thing for a lot of people, is not being able to face trauma that's happened to them, or just not even you're not even being able to sit with different emotions like, anger or sadness. A lot of people just, it's really scary for them, which is sad. It's really sad.
With me personally, I mean, I've had like the same experiences that these lot have had. Whilst it is scary, it's also honest, which is like really important for you to be honest with yourself and be open with yourself. Because for me, I've been able to understand the thoughts I have and why I have the thoughts I do. And then once I understood the why, it's like, it kind of links into what I've learned about Stoicism as well. It's if I have a thought, I could then, once I've understood the why I'm having this thought, and it's then the, okay, can I take any action on this? Can I do something about this? And if it's a yes, then perfect. Okay, let's go. Let's take some action. Let's get rid of this. But if it's a no, whilst it may be sad or suck, it's then just a part of letting go, which I think it's hard for a lot of people as well to let go. Maybe they're attached to the thoughts they have or the feelings they have. But once you let go of the things you can't control, or the things that have happened to you that you have no control over, letting go, it dropped a massive weight off. Like, I was a sign of like a big relief to saying, okay, I can just not worry about this anymore. But I know for some people it is really hard to do that, and it is sad because of the experience that they've had as well. And it may not, and it's not, and I think some people are worried about it not being like a one-day thing. It may take a few days, it may take a long time. The process takes as long as it needs to take.
However long it needs to take, and that could be forever.
Yeah. And then, yeah, it takes as long as a person needs it to take. Some people may just be like a short amount of time. Some people it take a long time, but at least you know if you're working through it, you know, okay, I've been here, I can get to here. And it's that's why I think it's quite good to have have sad days and good days, like have a range of both, because on the sad days, you know, okay, I've had these before, I've been able to get through them, I can get through this. And on the good days, it's good to remember that it's not every single day. There are going to be bad days. So I need to be grateful for this. I need to enjoy this whilst I can, be in the present moment, like we say, and just enjoy it whilst I can. But again, yeah, it is sad that some people do have these thoughts, and as much as we would like to help them, and we can in a way, but it's their own battles. It's something that they have to go through, because we're not them. We don't know. They can tell us what they've experienced, but because we're not them, we don't have the exact same thoughts and feelings that they would have had at that time.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is a tough one.
Yeah, I think everybody's journey, everybody's trauma is individual, and it's, yeah, I think a lot of people maybe don't dive into that journey of wanting to, let's say, go on that healing journey, because it is scary, because you don't know how long it's going to take. I always tell myself, I think this journey that I'm on is forever, because things happen in our life, like things are yet to come in my life. So I think it is just surrendering and letting go of that control of, well, I need to be fixed, or I need to be okay in this amount of time.
Yeah.
It's just knowing that this is a forever journey, and when these moments do crop up, and when those days of, you know, feeling extremely low do come up, it's having that toolbox of what you can do to get yourself out of that feeling. But yeah, I think just surrendering to the control of wanting to control the situation. I think that's what we do, don't we? We want to control everything, but ultimately the only thing that we can control is this present moment, is like the present moment that we're in. We think about the past way too much. And I think we think about the future way too much. I think with the past, it's really hard to let that go. And to let those thoughts go, and stop letting the past control us, because it's happened and there's nothing that we can do about it. But I think we fester on, but what if it happened like this? Or what if I had have done this instead? Or what if I had have said that instead? It's like, there's nothing we can do.
Yeah.
We just have to find peace with that. And then with the future, I think, again, we can't control the future. We can have goals and aspirations and dreams, and that we can have some sense of control, because we plan for that and we take action towards that. But we don't know what's going to happen in our life. So it's just surrendering to knowing that that's why being in the present moment is so important, because it's the only thing that we can control.
It's very true, especially the past and the future side of it, because like you say, like the great Lion King quote, like the past may hurt, but you can either run from it or learn from it.
Exactly.
And it's like, what do you want to do?
Exactly.
And I think a lot of people I remember seeing as well, I think it was Ricky Gervais, he was like saying, things that, like, people always say things are so much easier when I was a kid, I didn't have to like think about all these thoughts. It's like, well, yeah, you're a kid, like life is easy back then. You know, you've got to grow up, you've got to go through this self-development, this self-growth, and it's a forever journey, but it doesn't mean you can't grow along the way and develop along the way. But like you said, with the control, like everyone wants to sort of control all these external factors, that like other people's opinions, for example, like the outcome of like the efforts and stuff like that. But you have no control over that. You can put in as much work as you want, but the outcome you have no control over. But you do have control over how you are in this present moment, the mindset you have. It's like, okay, things didn't go my way. Something happened along my journey. My journey. What am I now going to do about this? I can just get upset and frustrated and just throw a tantrum, or I can say, okay, this didn't happen. What can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? And then for next time, if something similar arises in the future, you can say, okay, this has happened to me before. What did I learn from this? Okay, I know what to do now for next time.
Yeah.
But it's a tough one, people just sort of get stuck in the future. And I think that's where the anxiety and depression come from, where depression comes from thinking in the past for how things used to be, and like the anxiety, fear of what may happen, all these different scenarios you may plan out. But really when it actually does happen, none of them scenarios came true, came to light. It's just, you're putting these thoughts in your head, and it's kind of where some people want them thoughts to happen. They're sort of expecting it to happen, and that way they won't be disappointed. It's like...
Yeah, I think quite a few people do... they think of worst case scenario first, almost to protect themselves, of like, well, I knew that was going to happen because I expected the worst anyway. But yeah, I think like you said, it's learning from everything. And I do think everything that you go through in life is a lesson, and and that is your chance to evolve. Like that is your chance to grow and evolve and learn from everything that's happened in your life, and turn that trauma into something amazing, you know, with healing yourself and just developing as a human being and being the best version of yourself that you can. Yeah,
and not in a bad way, but it's like, you know, we're humans. We have so much potential as well. Like we're so complex. Why would you just want to be like one emotion all the time? Like you have all these different emotions. It's nice to be able to experience all of them as well, to learn from them, to say, okay, I'm angry. Why am I feeling angry? Okay, I'm sad. Well, I'm upset. I'm happy. Like we have all these different emotions. We should be, in a way, we should be grateful that we can be able to express all these different emotions.
Yeah.
Whilst in that moment, it may not be great, but when you look back on it, you can say, okay, wow, this is what it really felt like to feel this way. Like I've learned so much about myself now, and that's a positive. And the next time it does happen or something similar happens, I'm ready for it now. I'm going to be okay.
Yeah. I think like you said, it's amazing that we are able to experience every single emotion. I think a lot of people put some emotions in a category of like we shouldn't feel it, especially like anger or sadness. I think sadness, a lot of people see that as a weakness, and anger is just anger, so you should never feel it. But it's a human experience. It is a human emotion, and the healthiest thing that you can do is experience it and find an outlet, a safe outlet for you to work through that. You know, anger, we have to experience that. Like we have to. So when we feel angry, it's just finding a safe way of working through that, instead of maybe taking it out on somebody else, is finding a safe outlet for you to be able to work through that. And every single emotion is so important to feel.
Yeah. I think like with being able to experience them, like learning from them, I know we talked about it with journaling. How I've got it, like how important is journaling for your own self-care? So for me, it's like able to see the thoughts, write them down, and see the emotions that I was experiencing with the thoughts. Sometimes when you try and work through them all in your head at once, all these different thoughts, and you get muddled up and confused, and you end up probably just being frustrated, like, I can't work through this. But for me, it's like journaling. I've been able to write them down and say, okay, I had this thought and I was feeling this way. Why was I now feeling this way? Why? What happened in this to make me feel this way? And then each time you do, like you could, maybe, I don't know how much people write in their journals, it's up to them really, but at least if you're writing it all down, you can then break it down each part and say, okay, I was feeling this way in this situation. Why? Okay, I've learned through that. Next point, I was feeling this emotion from this situation. Why? And it's just, you can work through your mind more clearly, and being able to, I think it's important getting the thoughts out there.
Yes.
Like being able to see them like visually, whilst not actual like emotions because you can't see them, but just being able to see them written down and the thoughts you're having. It just makes things so much more clear for you. And then it's just easier to work through them, I think.
Yeah. I think journaling is an amazing tool. Like you said, I think our thoughts, all the thoughts that we think all day, we can get so frustrated because we can't compartmentalize all of it. So journaling for me is like a big brain dump of like just putting everything out onto paper and just getting everything out there. And I think with journaling, a lot of people don't really know where to start because it's like, oh, I don't know what to write about. I don't know I don't know how I'm supposed to journal, but journaling is whatever it needs to look like for you.
Yeah.
That could be a page, it could be a sentence, like it could be 5 pages, and that looks something that can be different every single day. So again, what you said about like looking back, your journal is like, it's for you to look back on all the things, and that's when you can maybe start to see like patterns, or emotions that are coming up. Like if you're writing about how you were feeling about a certain emotion, you know, how did you feel at that time, and then seeing how that affected you, and then the next time you can write about it. And then it's just having that log of everything. But for me, journaling is just, it's an amazing tool, and I feel everybody should have access to it and should try it. But I do understand it can be very daunting.
I was going to say, do you think...
Because it's again like being honest with yourself with how you're feeling and sitting with those emotions, which some people don't want to do.
I think my answer to this would be yes, but I think people then may think the thoughts are more real. They're just in their heads like, no, this isn't real. When they write it down, it's like, okay, I did have this thought.
Yeah.
Is this part of me now? Like, I'm not realizing that thoughts always come and go. It's just, we have like 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day minimum, I think. But not all of them thoughts are true. Not all of them are real. Not all of them have to like be like part of your identity, which I think some people don't distinguish between. Just because you have that thought doesn't mean it's a part of you. Like people have like for me personally, my humor can be quite dark. It's quite dark humor. I just think like watching like people like Ricky Gervais or someone like that, it's just, for me, it makes me laugh. It's just funny. But that doesn't mean it's part of my identity, like having these, like Ricky Gervais, if he tells a racist joke, doesn't mean he's racist. He just had that thought and it was just a funny one. Doesn't mean he is a racist person. It's like some people have these thoughts saying, I hate this person or something like that. I hate these people. Or they're really annoyed about something and then they think they're a bad person and they just hate themselves for it. They just think they're so they make them thoughts attached to them.
Themselves to their thoughts,
which isn't the case at all. They're just thoughts that come and go. There's so many thoughts. How do you know which ones? It's like, are you attached to all of them? Like, where does the line sort of get drawn? I think that's why some people like don't want to write them down because they think, okay, I actually did have this thought. Am I a bad person? Is there something wrong with me?
I think that's quite daunting for people, is the thoughts that they're having, because, you know, all of us at some point have had very dark thoughts about ourselves or about other people. So I think, maybe some people do think, well, if I put this down onto paper, then it's real and this is my identity because I have thought that. But I think journaling, it's just having no judgment about yourself. Don't judge yourself with it and just go with whatever comes out.
What do you think about practicing gratitude? Is that something you do often or you do?
Yeah, like sometimes I might incorporate it into my journaling, just writing down the things that I'm grateful for.
Do you think it helps as well? Yeah,
I do think gratitude is another thing that we should be considering more and practicing more, and being aware of more of just those little things in life, and just being able to wake up and see or hear, or, you know, being able to eat and drink. Like, they are just such simple things that we should be so grateful for, but we've just lost all of that. You know, we seek it from other things like material things and a lot of things externally. So I think gratitude, like practicing gratitude, it can just help you, again, be present and just be grateful for what you have, what you already have, like your body, your mind, your eyes, your ears, and being grateful for those things.
Instead of focusing so much on what you don't have, you start to then realise, okay, I do have, you start realising what you do have and thinking about it and realising, wow, I do actually have a lot. And
we have everything we need. We actually have everything we need, but we just look for it externally.
Even just being alive, I think. Like, something when I practice gratitude, it's just waking up and being like, I'm alive. I'm here another day. Like, this is great. What could ruin my day now? Like, I'm here, another day to live. Let's just go and get it. And it's, we take a lot for granted, I think, especially in like the UK personally, I think. We take so much for granted, like even just having a house over our head, like being able to take a shower, being able to eat today, wear shoes, or just so many things we take for granted. But then you get people like, oh, I need a new phone. My phone's rubbish. Like, you've got a phone. Like, like, we're just so focused on what other people are having and how other people are living their lives. We start to forget what we have and what all the good things we do have in our life. Like, even just being able to write or talk or like so many things we forget we actually do have and forget to be grateful for. But for me, like, the main one is just, I'm alive. I'm here. This is great. Like, I've woken up. I've woken up from my sleep in a bed, which I'm grateful for as well. Like, it's just, we do really forget what we actually have in life and so focused on the materialistic and all the external things and like other people, what they're having in their own lives.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think a lot of people, and I've done it in the past, and sometimes I still catch myself doing it. You know, we're not all perfect, but we want that external validation, and we want that quick dopamine fix of, well, if I buy something that I really want, I'm going to be happy, or, you know, we get that new phone or something, and it does give us that hit for a few minutes, but then it goes and we're just stuck in that feeling again of like wanting more and more and more. So I think practicing gratitude can help alleviate that feeling of like constantly needing stuff, needing things that are going to make us happy, which they're not. It's so practicing gratitude and, like you said, just being grateful for like the simple things in our life. Yeah, it can help us. I think just find joy in every day, just simple things,
and just appreciate the little things as well.
Yeah, like
missed.
The little things in our life are amazing, but we just forgotten it. Yeah, we've forgotten it. We've been conditioned to need more, want more, and you know everybody else is doing it, so we must think that we need it, but we don't.
It's that
we are actually
boost.
And that's it. It's getting that boost, but we are actually such simple beings, and we don't need a lot.
I think, like, especially when it comes back to like, we go all the way back to our ancestors and like hunter gatherers. Like, they would have just had like food and like a shelter, and, like companionship, and like everything else to them is like a luxury. And it's sort of, we've taken it to extreme measures today with everything that we have. Like, we don't need all the things we do have. And we forget what is a luxury and what's not. Like, even just having like the shoes or like this, everything, like the clothing, like all jewelry or whatever, it's a luxury that we forget about. Like, back then they wouldn't have had any of that. They'd just be grateful to have like eaten for another day or like found somewhere they can sleep. Like, we do really take a lot for granted. But it's interesting when the dopamine hits. You mentioned about like little jump of happiness, because it's like, with something I learned called hedonic adaptation, it's like when you get a nice car, like a really nice car you wanted, we have like a baseline of our happiness. And it's like when you get that nice car, it skyrockets. But then reality sets back in and you like goes back.
Yeah,
like,
you crash down.
Yeah, and you just need them, like keep wanting to get them boosts back up. But it's never going to happen. I think you need to focus on yourself and work on yourself. And because happiness comes from within, that joy comes from within. It's not, no matter how many external things or how much money you have, the happiness will always come from within.
Always come from within inside of you, yeah. And I think we can get dopamine from so many other things. Yeah. We don't need it from external objects, like material things. We can get it from other things.
So I wanted to go on to like one of our points I think we've touched on a little bit, like when talking. It's like spirituality. And so I wanted to ask, because it's interesting, because I wanted to get into this point first, because it's funny when you hear people talk about spirituality and what, you know, I'm spiritual. And it's like, because I always have this story where I knew some people a while back, and she collected crystals, so like just on like a shelf, like a bookshelf sort of thing, but she had loads of different crystals, and she got a new one. And so I said to her, oh, so you collect crystals then? She goes, yeah, I'm very spiritual. I was like, oh, why? She goes, oh, because I have all these crystals. Look, it's like, oh, and what do you do? And she goes, what do you mean? I go, do you use them? Because no, I just look pretty on my shelf. I just like them all. It looks really nice. Like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I always say like, it's like, okay, we'll move on from that. So I wanted to ask you, because you hear all these different people, hear all these people talk about, I'm spiritual, I have crystals, you know, I like nature. It's like, but for me, it's like, that doesn't make sense. But I wanted to ask you, because I know we've talked about it, so what does spirituality mean to you? And I know there's no set, like there's no right answer, but
yeah, that's it. There's so many layers to, and I don't know, like I know a lot of people don't really like to call it like being spiritual. I know a lot of people maybe like say like it's more of like being sacred, like to yourself. But yeah, there's so many layers to this one. But for me, I think it's being like self-aware. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Being self-aware, being committed to this journey of healing myself and things like that. And yeah, it's so hard to like say like what it means because it has so many layers. But yeah, I think spirituality, it comes from within here. Like it doesn't look like anything.
No.
It doesn't, there's no one size fits all. And I think a lot of people fall into that. I know I maybe fell into it a little bit at the beginning of my journey of like, oh, well, I need to dress like a hippie and I need to collect all of these crystals and I need to be living off grid. And why that is amazing for some people, that's not what it means to me.
Yeah.
Like I can still, and this is something that I've worked on a lot in my journey, is like it's like your spirit is within you, it's inside of you, and it doesn't look like anything. So it's squashing that narrative of spirituality, of what it's supposed to look like. But yeah, for me, it's being self-aware and knowing myself, loving myself. Yeah, that I just feel like that's such a hard one to answer because it has so many layers. It really does.
I feel like there is no right or wrong answer.
There isn't. There really isn't. But I think it is really important to know that it doesn't look like anything.
Yeah.
Because I think this is what a lot of people fall into is that you have to look a certain way.
Yeah.
Or to be spiritual. Like you shouldn't be drinking, you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that. But from my own personal journey, when I did strip away all of that and I thought that that's what being spiritual meant, I was actually like denying myself of happiness and joy. It's like I can still have a drink, I can still, do all of these things because I know that it's in here.
Yeah.
And it's not what I am externally, it's who I am within me.
See, I'm glad you said that, because when I was doing it myself, like trying to figure out, okay, what does this actually mean to me?
And that's it, because it can be a confusing time and it can be a really lonely time because you're going through this like change within you, like that something is coming to the surface and it's almost like really daunting. So you're trying to figure it out. So maybe you do go down different paths before you settle into what you are now.
Yeah. And I think it was like, because I like what you say, because it all ties back to, for me, I put like it's focusing more on inner growth rather than outer growth, like about connecting with your deeper self rather than focusing like on the outer things, like materialistic things. And I heard a really good quote from it afterwards when I was looking at this. It was I don't know who said it, which doesn't help, but it's spirituality is when I close my eyes, I find peace within. When I open my eyes, my attitude is, what can I do for you? And I
love that.
Yeah, I really like that as well.
That's beautiful.
It completely ties into what I think what we've talked about as well, focusing on inner growth, working on yourself, and then sort of helping elsewhere, like externally. But you got to find peace within yourself first, focus on you, your self-care, like putting yourself first, you're making yourself a priority.
Yeah.
And then you're able to like, what can I then do?
Yeah.
Like externally. And then there was, I I like this quote as well. It's not as deep as that one, but it made sense. I really liked it because of his person who it is. It's Graham Hancock, and he also said, "We have severed our connection with spirit," which I think in this sort of day and age, I can see it with all the materialistic, people obsessed with materialistic things, sort of stuck in that like matrix, that I don't know what you call it, materialistic reality or something. I don't know how you'd phrase it, but so focused on like living in this fake world, we're not sort of connecting back with like our roots in a way. We're not connecting with ourselves, like how our ancestors would have lived as well before them. We're sort of just we are losing our way a bit. Like I don't know how I'd phrase it, but we're just so focused on like what's the next chapter in like technology, for example. Like we're so focused on like advancing as like a human, like a species, but not advancing within ourselves.
Yeah. And now that you've mentioned about like our ancestors, I think for me that's really important, is like honouring all of my ancestors before me, and knowing that going on this journey and the growth and being self-aware and you know, working on yourself is forever. It's a daily practice that you have to surrender to, but it's knowing that like I am breaking so many patterns and so much trauma within my lineage. Like that's really important for me to know as well, is that I am like the cycle breaker of everything that has happened before me.
Yeah, that's deep when you think about it. Something I did, cause when I was looking on your page as well, something I did want to ask, it's about tarot reading. Is that something you do, or?
So yeah, I dived into it for a little while. I don't actually offer it anymore, just because I don't feel called to it, and I think that's really important for me. Is when I don't feel called to do something, I think it's time to just maybe let it go. But it's something that I delve into a couple of years ago.
And how was your like experience with it at the time? Would you recommend it to other people to get done?
Yeah, I think if you have a call in to have your tarot cards read, then go for it. I think just bear in mind that it's not going to fix the situation that maybe you're going there to look for. I think the tarot cards is just another energy tool, and it's there to give you guidance and it's there to give you clarity, and then you do as you wish with that. I think it can just push us in the right direction a lot of the time. But again, there's so many different types of tarot readers, so there's layers to that one as well. But yeah, I think I go for tarot readings when I feel called. I think it's always good to listen to when you hear that call in. But I think, if it's something that you're interested in, I think it can bring a real sense of clarity to whatever is going on in your life. But ultimately, all of those answers were within you anyway. Yeah. Like you already have the answers, but sometimes we need to see it. And I think that's where the tarot cards are good, because we can see it visually and we go, okay.
Makes sense.
I felt that, and now I can really believe it. I can really see it.
Yeah. It gives you that little bit of motivation in a way.
Yeah.
Like actually go after it and take that action towards it. So, and we've talked about this as well, which I wanted to ask you, because I know you're a huge fan of nature as well. Mm-hmm. Do you feel we are losing our connection with nature as a society?
I think we are, but I also think we're not, because I think a lot of people are realising now how amazing it is and how natural it is for us to be in nature. So I think there are a lot of people that are understanding that a bit more.
And moving back into it.
Yeah, there's so many like run clubs, hiking, groups. I meet my friends for walks, and I don't know. I feel like there's a sense of people are starting to understand like how important it is to be out in nature, because we are nature. Yeah,
and I remember we talked about it just before we started this episode, like the power of like natural remedies and medicines that are actually out there that we sort of have stepped away from, and how the pharmaceutical companies have taken over. But with that as well, I think, like you say, we are part of nature. there is so much out there for us that can heal us naturally. Like all these natural medicines and remedies that we can take that can heal us. Like even certain fruits, like vegetables or spices, or like there's so much we can use to heal ourselves instead of just taking that pill. Just getting back in touch with nature, or even just grounding, just getting barefoot out there on like the beach or grass, wherever you can, and just being out there for a little while and just reconnecting with the earth, with nature.
Yeah.
And I do feel like that is sort of been missed out a bit, especially like not so much like the walking side of it, because I do feel like that has grown back into it. People going for walks, hikes, run clubs now. But the other side of it with like the natural remedies and like getting back onto natural foods instead of just having like takeaways and processed foods, there is still that divide there, and hoping I can see it come back into it, but at the moment we seem to be just in that massive divide.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is like we're not educated on it.
Yeah, that too.
And I don't think I don't know, maybe one day in the future that might come into it, but I don't at the moment. I don't. On a bigger scale, we're not educated about how there are so many things in this world that can help aid our healing process. We want that, you know, a lot of people want that quick fix. They want to just go to a doctor's and they want to be told, take this prescription and you'll be okay.
Yeah.
But as we know, that's just sticking a plaster on the top and getting rid of the symptoms. It's not getting to the root cause of you know what's really going on. But yeah, I think education is a big thing. We're not taught about it unless we want to go out and find those answers, or we have that community around us and we're interested in it. Then how do people find that knowledge?
Yeah, just sort of got to go out there yourself, like you say. Put in the research if you want to, but I think a lot of people just don't at the moment. Some people may find it hard to go out there and say, okay, what can I find that will heal me or fix this root, get to the root cause of this. But like the best thing that can heal us is ourselves in a way as well. We forget that as well. We're so focused on just getting that quick fix, like you say, taking that pill or whatever, instead of just taking the time to sit with ourselves, maybe do a deep meditation or journaling. Something that can help us to heal ourselves from within, because we are, I think like Joe Spencer says, we are like supernatural beings. We have so much power within ourselves, and we are like part of like the universe. Like we forget how much power we do have, like the power we have to change ourselves, to heal ourselves. We can do so much, yet we just sort of get stuck out and start thinking about, okay, I'm going to take this quick pill. I'm going to take something like this that will help me, and just not looking inwards anymore, sort of looking outwards.
Yeah. I think that's it. We look outwards and not inwards, and we don't listen to that internal dialogue, and we don't, again, going back to that mind-body connection, is like we're not listening to our body, because our body can heal itself. And while I think Western medicine does have some importance, and when I say that, I think a lot of like impact injuries. I'm not too sure how to say it, but I think that's when Western medicine is amazing. Of like when you like, you know, your arm is about to like come off or something because you've been in an accident. Well, yeah, Western medicine is unreal for that, and you know you're going to have a chance to live. But when it's something that's really deep rooted, that's when I personally don't feel like Western medicine is the answer. That's just my opinion on that one.
No, I'd agree with that as well. Some things like say, some things a bit when they're like severe.
Yeah, when it's extreme, I think Western medicine is amazing.
But other than that, just look within, just take time to, like say, listen to the body. What's it telling you? And then take it from there. One question I do want to ask you before we finish as well. Throughout your journey, what's been the biggest thing you've learned about yourself? If there's a few, you can do a few. So what like some main things you've learned about yourself along the way?
Yeah, that's a What have I learned about myself? I think how much I need to give to the world and like what my purpose is. That's been a big thing on my journey. Another thing would probably be listening to myself, and not listening to others. That's been a huge thing on my journey. And I wouldn't say I don't care what anybody thinks, because I think we all do to some extent. But yeah, just not feeding into that as much. And just knowing that the way that I live my life is the way that I want to do it, and I shouldn't worry what others think of that.
Yeah.
I shouldn't worry how others may see that, because their projection is just a reflection of themselves.
Very true.
Yeah. So I think, I think those, I mean, there's so much, but I'd say there's probably the two main things of just getting to know myself and being comfortable. I think that's a big thing, is like being really comfortable with who you are.
Yeah.
And not swaying away from that.
I like that, because you are with yourself all the time, so you can't escape yourself.
Yeah.
And I like what you said about the projection thing with other people. Because it's funny when people are angry at you. It's like, why? What's really like, you're angry at yourself, and you sort of like take time to say like, why is that?
Yeah.
Don't just put it out onto someone else. Because like, what do I do? Like,
yeah. When people do that to me, and it doesn't happen very often, but if someone does that to me, like I almost laugh to myself,
yeah.
and it's not. I'm not laughing at them, but I laugh because I used to take that so personally. Like I used to think, oh my God, like I've done something wrong. Like I've really made this person angry, but it's nothing to do with me. It's their own internal dialogue and a reflection of themselves. And the more that you realise that, the more that you just become so unbothered by people's actions towards you.
I completely agree with that as well. So where can people find you if they want to see more of you? Where?
So I'm probably mostly active on my Instagram, which is Sarah B Holistic Therapist. That's where you can find me. That's where you can book in with me if you wanted a massage. But yeah, I'm based in Northampton, but Instagram is probably the best way to find me.
Perfect. I'll also put your details in the description as well.
Thank you.
That's right. Is there any offers or anything you got going on, or anything at the moment?
I've got my autumn seasonal offering. So I do an offering every season to try and align ourselves with the seasons, which is something that I love as well, is like stepping into that seasonal living a bit more. And yeah, I've got lots of things happening at the moment, which will be coming out soon. So it's an exciting time at the moment.
That's great.
Yeah.
Looking forward to seeing the exciting times ahead then. But for now, thank you so much, Sarah, for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. Me. And I'm sure we'll do this again at some point as well.
Yes.
There's lots more to dive into, but
yeah.
Thank you for now.
Thank you so much.
All right.